Today we bring you Sunricher's D4i Driver, tutorial for the use of DALI-2 sensors. The DALI signal cables of these two devices are connected to the DALI bus. The DALI bus is connected to the computer via a USB cable. We have already set up the sensor function through the computer. Now it's in motion sensing mode. It's not sensing motion for a long time. After 6 or 7 seconds, the light will turn off automatically. If it doesn't detect motion, the light will go off automatically. When it detects motion, the light turns on automatically. How do you set it up? Let's take a look on the computer. Double-click to open DALI Master. Click on DALI Bus. Bus Interface. Select Port. OK. Click on Master Device. Click on DALI Bus. Addressing. Here you can choose Read Existing Devices, System Extension, or Complete New Installation. We can try Complete New Installation. Next step. Click Finish. Above this is our D4i driver. There are groups here. We can group it. Here is the address. You can set the address for it. You can also set the scene. Next, click on Sensors. Here we can leave the general settings alone. Click on Instance Parameters and Control Logic. Example 0 is the occupancy sensor. Example 1 is a light sensor. We disable it first to avoid interfering with the test. Tick occupied and vacant. Others can be left unchecked. Timers. Just keep the default setting, don't change it. For example, report, 5 seconds. The sensor will report its status every 5 seconds. Hold, it's better not to touch it. This is used in conjunction with the DALI panel. If we use the DALI panel, we turn the lights on. During this time, the sensors will not interfere with the operation of the panel. If you want the sensor to work all the time, set the hold setting to 1 second. The minimum sensitivity is 0, which means no sensitivity at all. The maximum is 15, the most sensitive. By default, we set it to 7, 8, 9. You can adjust the sensitivity according to the distance of the sensor. Control Logic. Event Scheme. To select 2, device address instance number. The default value is 0. We choose 2. If you choose 0, instance type number. When you have multiple sensors, each sensor reports the same instance type and number, which can cause system errors. Only if each sensor reports its own address and number, there will be no error. So the recommendation is to select 2. Destination addresses. You can choose to control all devices. You can also change it to a group. For example, Group 0. So it can only control devices in Group 0. It can also be set to an address, so that it can only control a single device. MS Operating Mode. Enabled it. If you select only Off, then the sensor can only switch off the lights. To switch on the light, you have to use a panel switch or other means. Disable. Disables the sensor completely. Enable the sensor. Here are some settings for time. 1. Fade in time. The time when the light turn on slowly. Detecting a person coming, the light will come on slowly, not suddenly. 2. Preset retention time. Maximum time can be set to 12 hours. For testing purpose, we set a shorter time. 3. Fade time. When people leave, the light stays on slightly. This is the transition time between the brightest and faintest light. 4. Absence retention time. The time when the light stays slightly bright. 5. Fade out time. The time when the light fades out. Presence value. The brightness of the light when the person is there. Absence value. The brightness of the light when people are gone. Last value. The brightness when no one is around, can also be set to 0. When all the configurations are finished, click on Write to Device to complete the setup. We set the sensor to light sensing mode. This is the D4i driver, connected to the light fixture. There's also a bigger light here. We use it to simulate changes in ambient brightness. We can reduce the ambient brightness. We can also increase the ambient brightness. In this way, we can simulate the brightness variation of the natural environment to test our sensors. You can see that when the surroundings are darker, the sensor then automatically adjusts the brightness of the light to complement the brightness of the surroundings. When the surroundings become brighter, the sensor sends a command to the D4i driver to dim the lights it's connected to. This is the main purpose of the light sensor. Let's take a look at how it's set up in the computer. Before we test the light sensor, let's disable the motion sensing function to avoid interfering with the test. Next, click on Instance 1. First change the event scheme to 2. Enable it. and enable automatic polling, as you can see. When we enable automatic polling, many of the following options are no longer needed. The only thing we can set now is the polling interval, and we don't need to change it. Control logic, destination addresses, setting the range of the sensor. We select all broadcast, LS operating mode, enable and disable only. Enable it. Adjust speed. We don't recommend adjusting the speed too low or too high. Usually 100, 200, 300 is fine, because if the time is set too low, the dimming speed will be fast, alternating between light and dark. Desired value is the brightness you want to maintain all the time. For example, if you want it to be 800, then fill in 800. If you don't know what the surrounding brightness is, which value is more appropriate, then you turn the lights to a comfortable or the brightness you want and click on the query. Then you will know the current brightness of the light. Threshold. You can see the yellow and green lines here. Threshold is the interval between them and the blue line. Once all the settings are done, we'll click on Right Device, and then the sensor will automatically adjust the brightness of the light to keep the ambient environment constant.